His first teacher, Alara Kalama, offered to place him on a level with himself and to share the leadership of his own community with him. But the prince, the Bodhisattva, refused. He was dissatisfied with this teacher. He wanted to seek out another teacher. He mastered his doctrine, mastered his system of meditation till he reached the crown, the highest point, but still he found this deficient. His teacher, Uttaka Ramaputta, admitted that his own attainment was superior to his own, and he offered to turn over the leadership of the order to him. But in this case, too, the Bodhisattva refused and left the fold. Now, what was wrong with these systems of meditation that he found them to be deficient? What was wrong with them was that these forms of meditation focused exclusively on concentration, samadhi, rather than panya, wisdom. They led to higher states of consciousness, to rapturous bliss, to stillness and calm of the mind, to deep stages of absorption. But they didn't lead to insight into truth, to awakening, to enlightenment, and therefore they were inadequate to bring about the state of liberation. And so the Bodhisattva abandoned these teachers and their systems and threw himself deeper into the forest in order to enter upon a new path for himself, the path of self-mortification. In India at the time, it was commonly believed that the way to liberation lay in afflicting the body. And so the Bodhisattva took up this path of asceticism. Later, after his enlightenment, he said that he followed this path to its utmost limits, to an extent that no one had ever carried it before. He reduced his intake of food, fasting for weeks on end. He went about naked, exposing his body to the heat of the sun, to the cold of night, to the rain and to the winds. He went about like an animal on hands and knees. His body became reduced to a skeleton covered over with just a small amount of flesh and with skin. He became so thin that if he reached down to touch his belly, he was able to feel his backbone through his belly. If he reached behind to touch his backbone, he was able to grasp hold of the skin of his belly. At the time, he was accompanied by 5 ascetics who gathered around him, willing to serve him and attend on him, in the belief that if there was anybody who was going to reach supreme enlightenment, it was this great ascetic, this very severe ascetic, who was a former prince. And so they waited on him and served him. However, the Bodhisattva found that all of these austerities only proved futile. They didn't lead to any enlightenment, to any state of higher wisdom. They led only to the wasting of the body and to the weakening of the mental faculties. He understood that for the mind to function properly at full capacity, the body had to be strong and healthy, and therefore he decided to abandon this course of self-mortification and to resume taking food again. And so he went to gather alms, he collected food, he began to eat, until he had regained his strength and vigor. And when this happened, then the 5 ascetics became disgusted with him. They thought that he had abandoned his spiritual exertions, that he had decided to revert to a life of luxury, and so they left him all alone. Then, when he was alone, that was the moment, the time when the approach of enlightenment was drawing near. And so one day, after he had taken his alms, he came to a beautiful spot by the bank of a river, found a nice shady area beneath a tree, which is later to be called the Bodhi tree, the tree of enlightenment. He prepared himself a seat of grass, sat down, folded his legs in the cross-legged posture, and when he sat there, he then made a firm resolution, a determination in his mind. He said, "Let my flesh waste away until only bones and skin remain. But I will not budge from this seat. I will not unlock my legs until I have reached supreme enlightenment, until I have found the way to deliverance." Then there took place the struggle for enlightenment. As evening descended, a tremendous internal struggle waged itself within the mind of the seeker, a struggle against all the defilements, all the attachments, the ignorance and afflictions which had been lying dormant in his mind. In the text, the struggle is depicted allegorically as a battle with Mara, the personification of all desire and attachment, the tempter, the evil one. When the Bodhisattva crosses his legs in meditation and begins to focus his mind, Mara learns what he is doing, and Mara calls together all of his armies and hordes of demons and approaches the Bodhisattva sitting beneath the tree. He comes to him and tries to tempt him in different ways. He offers him honor, power, and fame, sovereignty over the whole world. He appeals to his love of family life, his love for his wife, parents, and child. Then he tries to frighten him with thunder and lightning, throwing weapons at him, displaying many horrible forms. He tries to seduce him with the delights of the senses, sending his daughters delight and attachment and pleasure. The seductive daughters of Mara he sends to try to seduce him and lead him into the pathways of sensuous pleasure. But still the Bodhisattva remains unmoved. Then finally Mara challenges his very right to be sitting underneath the Bodhi tree. He says, "What right do you have to be sitting at this spot? This doesn't belong to you, it belongs to me." He turns around to all of his soldiers, his hordes of demons, and says, "Isn't that right?" All of the demons say, "Yes, that's right. He has to get up and leave." What right do you have to be challenging? Who can witness for